Hey guys, it's Alina and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm trying something a little bit different here and I'm using my phone as a microphone. I've just kind of noticed in the last few videos that the audio quality just hasn't been up to the kind of standard that it used to be. I'm not sure why that is. Let me know if you prefer this. So a few videos back now I made this kind of ranting video talking about this really bad job interview that I had, and I was coming down really hard on myself. Obviously didn't get the job that I was hoping for, and since then I have a lot more understanding, a lot more wisdom to share about job employment for those that are on the autism spectrum, and wanted to share that today. Wanted to kind of incorporate my experiences because I went looking for videos of people kind of sharing their experiences. This is a part of life that I think there needs to be a lot more support around for those that are on the autism spectrum, and so I really hope that this video can feel like a warm hug to those of you that are struggling right now. So yeah, let's get into it. So just to give you guys just a little bit of understanding as to my employment history, really the only thing that I've kind of done is YouTube. For those of you who don't know who I am, I actually had a completely different channel, Classic Splendor, that I kind of built up as a hobby since the age of 17, and it kind of took off at one point and ended up becoming a full-time job, which was incredibly exciting, as you could imagine, for someone that is autistic to be able to have the privilege to work from home. So I rode that wave for as long as I possibly could until I achieved everything that ultimately I wanted to achieve. I think the thing about being on the autism spectrum is you're not kind of driven by money. It's very much the intrinsic reward, the feel-good feelings. What are you getting out of the job rather than, what are you getting from the job? What money, what awards? We're not kind of driven by that. And so by the end of that, which I kind of threw in the towel with YouTube about a year ago now, I kind of just thought, okay, now it's on to something else. And then I ended up becoming a bartender. I started doing bartending and lasted approximately 5 months. You might be asking, like, how does someone even fall into bartending, especially if they're autistic? For me, it was just trying to play out this image that I had in my head. It always looked like such a cool job to do, and it certainly was a cool job to do. There was just far too much socializing for my needs, so every single day off that I had, I just didn't have a life. I just had to recoup and recharge my battery, and I just became extremely miserable. And ever since then, I've kind of been in this limbo of trying to figure out, okay, what do I do for a job? I really loved being my own boss, but that obviously has its own challenges. I just have no idea what I want to do. I studied psychology at university. I didn't actually finish that degree, so don't have a degree. So I just very much am in this place in my life where I should be having the career. I'm 27 years old, going on 28, and people are looking at me as to, like, that's very much the question people ask. What do you do for a job? Yeah, right now, love, nothing. And I'm very aware the world wants me to have the job. Sorry if the light keeps changing as well. It's a very rainy day here. I think that, there is so much data out there around employment, but from what I've gathered, only 16% of autistic adults find themselves in employment, with 32% involved in some type of paid work. I think that this data, it's very hard to account for, particularly because it doesn't involve, those that haven't been diagnosed, and no doubt because they have a job and, they're a functioning part of society, this is why they continue to go undiagnosed. So, take the data with a grain of salt, but this is still, incredibly disheartening. It's not about whether the individual has a brain or not, because some of the most intelligent people, the most hardworking people are neurodivergent. But what it is that this world was not designed, it was not set up to suit us, to fill our social needs. The first thing that I want to say is, if you are autistic or you suspect you're autistic and you don't have a job right now, please know that it's not because you aren't brainy enough, or it's not because you're not intelligent enough, or you're not a hard worker. It truly is because this world is not designed to fit the way that your brain is. Just have to put that out there because I really needed to hear that. I think there are many reasons as to what hinders employment for autistic individuals, but these are just kind of a list that I've compiled from my own personal experience. And the first one is, I read the job descriptions too literally. If I just go into a job search website right now, the job description might say the individual thrives in a busy environment where no 2 days are the same. This might, I will read that quite literally and think, oh my gosh, I kind of get overwhelmed. I don't always thrive in a busy environment. Well then, that doesn't work for me. And I just go, well, I'm not suited to the role, and I don't apply. Even when we no doubt have the necessary skills. This is another point that has made, the job interview process a lot harder for me, and that's having limited work experience. For a lot of us, I know that we kind of struggle to get work experience, possibly not something that we were drawn to, kind of don't have a lot versus what neurotypicals may have. Because we don't have the relevant work experience, we may not understand the business jargon that is used during interviews, and so that makes it incredibly hard. And I just my answers are never as complex as I know they're wanting it to sound. If the individual decides to actually share with their employer that they have autism, oftentimes there can be stigmas, biases, and harassment. Maybe the individual doesn't know what their options are when this happens, and so they kind of just quit and think, well, that's how working is, I can't do that. Having the confidence as well to actually maintain a job is something that I've not seen a lot of people talk about. I think for many people diagnosed and maybe not diagnosed yet, the school experience, education experience wasn't a good one, and a lot of people experience bullying, maybe even in your family dynamic. I think with autism, you're just kind of always questioning yourself and always believing that you're the one misinterpreting something, you're the one doing something wrong. So just having the confidence to go in there and show up to an interview or show up to work and believing that you can hold the fort and you can just do the work. I think that's maybe very much a privilege that some people have and some people don't. I would say a lot of people don't. Lastly, I think just navigating social interactions, especially if you work in a team. If you don't like your team, then you're putting on a mask, and it's just a big shit show. Excuse my language, but okay, so now that we've said all of that, what do we do about it? These are the things that I've had to go out and learn and understand, and I just come back to that point that I've always got in my head, which is when you're first diagnosed, you should be given a handbook. But anyway, I digress. The biggest thing that I want to say to you is, if you are autistic or you suspect that you are autistic or neurodivergent, if that is the case, you are going to approach employment from a very different perspective from a neurotypical. I say this because I have had it in my ear since I have been unemployed to just get any job, any job, suck it up, because that will be the, work experience. It'll get some money, it'll get you out of the house, get you into a routine. It'll be so much better than what you're doing now. And I disagree and have always disagreed, but never had the answers to say to them. Now I have the answers to say back to these people. And I know they care, and I know they love me, and I know that it's all coming from a good place, and I totally get that. But I've always felt suffocated by this advice because it just didn't apply to me. The reason that I really struggled with this advice was because I knew that it wouldn't last. I know that it would end in a very similar situation as to what I'm in now, which is having done the bartending, worked for 5 months straight, masked the entire time, and have been in burnout since. I didn't want to get into another one of those situations because I actually want to start enjoying my life and I actually want to feel some happiness. So I've waited. The reason that neurotypicals say this advice is because they view these careers as a means to an end. You know, it is just seen as paying the bills, getting the money, and then anything else that you want to do can be done on your days off. For us neurodivergent folk, it isn't that simple. As I said at the beginning, when I did the bartending, I basically had to succumb every one of my days off to my bed because of the emotional, social drainage of my battery. We are not approaching a job as a means to an end. As much as it is needed, it has to be more than that for us. There are 3 things that you need as someone who is on the autism spectrum to have employment, success, and fulfillment. And that is commitment, connections, and calling. It is kind of no secret as to why an autistic individual can make the perfect employee, and that is because we become obsessed with what we are interested in. We have these special interests, and it is like tunnel vision. We can only focus on this one particular thing. We find such fulfillment in finding out something new. I would say is the closest that I've come to experiencing happiness is when I'm completely doing what I love. Whatever that is, I've got many different special interests. If you are able to cater your special interest to a job, you are going to excel. Not only can you excel in this because, you know, you'll be working probably more hours than anybody else, which I'm sure will get you pay rises, I'm sure will help you move up the job ladder, but also you'll want to stay at a place that you are obsessed with the work. You'll want to come in, you'll be excited to come in and work because this is doing what you love. Not only this, but you'll never get tired of actually talking about it. And this can only help profit the business, which bosses are going to love you. I think as well, when you know what you're talking about, you feel more confident, which can only improve your confidence in the job interviews or the co-workers that you're communicating with, clients or customers that you're meeting with. If you know your stuff, you'll feel really good talking about it. I know this isn't always applicable to everybody's special interest, but try and do your best to cater your special interest to a career. Connections. This probably for somebody like me is one of the most important things that I now look for, because I realize how bad it can go when you don't connect with the people that you work with. We're able to mold and conform ourselves into these little boxes that are so neatly presented to the people that we're working with just because we so desperately want to get on. And this can work, and we can learn how to make connections and feel like, okay, I can just do this. If I just sustain what I'm doing, then it will work. And the reality is, honey, that ain't gonna work. Let me be the living proof of that. You might be able to do it for a month. You might be able to do it for 3 months, 6 months, a year even. But I feel like once you get past that year mark, for most people, they start to kind of collapse and they realize that the quality of their life just isn't as good. Maybe they start to dread going into work. Maybe it's Sunday evening and you just start to feel this anxiety and this pressure, and then you leave work and you just feel so exhausted. You go home, collapse on the couch, and just realize you're dying inside. This is probably because you're around people that are just not fueling you. They aren't bringing out the best in you. I would have loved to have been told this information when I was diagnosed, to actually make that a priority when you are thinking about work. So you might be really, really good at the work itself, but if the people are really hard to be around, if the customers are really hard to be around, your co-workers, your boss, like, you aren't going to sustain that. So it's really just about asking yourself, like, who are the people that you actually do connect with, that you walk away and you think, man, I actually enjoyed that conversation. In your personal life is what I'm talking. What kind of people are they? Really get specific. So for me, I really enjoy open-minded, deep thinkers, deep communicators. And so I'm seriously currently looking at working at a bookstore. And I know a lot of people hear that and they go, oh, okay, retail, that's not going to fuel you into a career. But I feel like for me, if I don't have dread going into work and I'm coming back from work having had really cool conversations with nice, quiet, kind people, like I feel like I would be rich in my life just with that, and consequently better mental health. Really ask yourself that, who are these people that you get on with, and really try and cater a career to those people. Calling. The biggest reason for my poor mental health was hearing people say, well, you just gotta suck it up, honey, because that's what life is about, is just basically doing the 9 to 5, hating every part of life, and as soon as you're out of work, that's when the magic begins. And that just never worked for somebody like me. I get angry when I hear someone say that. I'm sure a lot of you relate to that as well. Your calling, man, that has to be the thing as well. The third thing driving you. If you can have all three, that's perfect. As I've talked earlier, chasing intrinsic rewards is probably one of the biggest things for ASB people. Finding fulfillment and feeling good in just the inner emotions, and just riding that is so much sweeter than just being given a bonus. Although money is great and praise and acknowledgement from others is great, and we still love that, ultimately we know that we're here for a purpose, and we need to be making a difference with the time that we're given. We've been given this brain for a reason. I truly believe that. I know that every single one of you watching this right now, diagnosed or undiagnosed, I know that you were given this brain to actually make a difference. And so really get specific on what it is that makes you go, yep, now that's the reason that I was born. For me, I've realized that working with autistic people, either online, writing books, or in person, that's where I need to be, because I understand the immense sadness and frustration that this life can be when you aren't acknowledged, when you haven't been diagnosed, when no one understands you. So those are just really the key points that I would say to focus on if you are having major struggles with where the fuck do you go from here. I get it. I really do. My final tips in all of this would be to start small. I know that there is so much pressure, probably from those that are around you, your parents, friends, I don't know, anyone that you view as authority, giving you advice, particularly social media, the hustle culture. Everyone seems to be starting businesses and making 6 figures, and it just feels like a lot of pressure. But if you feel like getting a job at a small little business that you're able to go to and not feel anxiety, like that's a win. That's a massive win, because I can guarantee you some of these people that are running these big businesses and looking like they've got it all together in their job, like they're not happy. It's just all for appearances. So really chase that feeling. Are you feeling good? No matter how small that business is or how much you're being paid, are you feeling good? If you struggle with rejection sensitive dysphoria, or you've never heard about it but have a hard time with rejection, I would say learn learn about it, because this could make your employment process, the interview process, a lot smoother than if you didn't know about it. Because for me, I took it personally. I just felt traumatized every time I went to a job interview and I didn't get the job, and I think it's all about me, they hate me, it's just a big label of how bad and undeserving I am. I learned about rejection sensitive dysphoria, and I mean, it doesn't take it away, but it definitely helps me understand and learn about why my brain kind of thinks the way it does and why my brain gives me such a freaking hard time. I just wanted to say, and I wrote this in one of the chapters that I've been writing, the employment process inevitably comes with rejection for everyone. Remember that it's never a verdict built from your worth, but rather a better match for the position. There will always be someone more appropriate for the role, and sometimes you will be that person. Before you begin applying for jobs, compile a list of encouraging statements and affirmations that will serve in moments of rejection as reminders to stay focused on where you're going. Rejection is actually a redirection to something better. And I truly believe that. I really do. I don't know where the hell I'm being redirected to in terms of my career right now. I'm currently trying to figure that out myself. But please just know that you will get there. Like, you can't put in all that energy and all that effort for it to go nowhere. This was a very long, very in-depth video, but the reason that I have done so much research, so much writing about this is because this really has impacted my life for the last 8 months or so. As I've said throughout this video, would have loved that handbook. And so I really hope that you've been able to take away just something from this video. If you have any questions or you want to follow me on social media, everything is linked down below, or you can leave me a comment down below. I love you guys so much. Thank you for watching this very long-winded speech, and I'll talk to you very soon. Bye.